The little girl was standing alone in the middle of a busy daytime street, her tiny hands clutching a worn-out stuffed rabbit, tears silently streaming down her cheeks while the world rushed past her as if she didn't exist. Cars honked, people hurried by with coffee cups and phone calls, but no one stopped. And across the street, a tired single father named Arman Qureshi saw her, and in that single, fragile moment, his life changed forever. If you believe that one act of kindness can rewrite destiny, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Touch of Kindness. Because stories like this remind us that second chances are real, and sometimes they arrive when we least expect them. It was late morning in the small sunlit town of Maplewood. The sky was clear, and the warmth of the sun painted everything in gold. Arman had just finished his early shift at a local auto repair shop. Grease still stained his hands, and exhaustion weighed on his shoulders, but his thoughts were already at home, with his 6-year-old son, Xavier. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago after a sudden illness, Arman had lived in a constant state of quiet survival. He worked long hours, cooked simple meals, braided his son's messy hair for school events even though he never quite got it right, and stayed up late folding laundry while bills stacked up on the kitchen table. Every day felt like a battle between providing and simply holding himself together. He was crossing the street when he noticed her. The little girl couldn't have been more than 5. Her dress was expensive, soft blue fabric with delicate embroidery, but it was dusty at the hem. Her shoes were polished but scuffed at the toes. She looked out of place, like a porcelain doll left behind in the chaos of the real world. Arman slowed down. People glanced at her but kept walking. He felt something twist inside him, a memory of the day his own son got lost in a supermarket for 5 agonizing minutes. Those 5 minutes had felt like a lifetime. He approached gently, crouching to her level, careful not to startle her. Her eyes were large and frightened, shimmering in the sunlight. She didn't answer at first. She just held out her stuffed rabbit as if it could speak for her. After a long pause, she whispered that her name was Alina, and she couldn't find her mother. Arman's heart sank. He looked around, scanning faces in the crowd, expecting to see a frantic parent running toward them. No one came. He asked if she knew her mother's phone number. She shook her head. Did she know where she lived? Another small shake. He could have called the authorities immediately, and he knew that was the responsible thing to do. But he also saw how tightly she was holding his sleeve, how her trembling eased just a little when he spoke softly. The police station was only a few blocks away. He decided to walk her there. As they walked, Alina's small hand wrapped around his rough fingers. The contrast between them felt symbolic, her world clearly one of comfort and wealth, his one of scraped knuckles and overtime shifts. Yet in that moment, they were simply 2 human beings walking under the same bright sky. At the station, officers took her details and assured Arman they would handle it. He lingered longer than necessary, an odd sense of responsibility anchoring him there. When they asked if he could stay with her until they contacted her family, he agreed without hesitation. Hours passed. Afternoon sunlight streamed through the station windows. Alina sat beside him, her head resting against his arm. She had stopped crying. She even smiled faintly when he showed her a picture of Xavier making a lopsided birthday cake. Then everything changed. A sleek black SUV pulled up outside, drawing immediate attention. The vehicle gleamed in the sunlight, polished to perfection. Out stepped a woman whose presence seemed to shift the air itself. She wore a tailored ivory suit, dark sunglasses, and carried herself with quiet authority. Her name was Soraya Vale, CEO of Vale Industries, a billionaire entrepreneur whose face had graced magazine covers and business journals. But in that moment, she wasn't a billionaire. She was a mother running toward her child. When Alina saw her, she broke into tears again, sprinting across the station floor. Soraya dropped to her knees, holding her daughter as if she might disappear again. Relief and anguish collided on her face. Armin felt a wave of quiet satisfaction. The child was safe. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Soraya stood and turned toward him. Her gaze was sharp, assessing, almost searching. She thanked him formally, her voice steady but layered with emotion. Officers explained how he had found Alina and stayed for hours. Something in Soraya's expression shifted when she looked at him more closely. It wasn't just gratitude. It was recognition. She asked him his name. Armin Qureshi. The silence that followed felt heavy. Soraya removed her sunglasses slowly, revealing eyes that mirrored her daughter's. She asked if he had ever lived in Riverbend Heights nearly 8 years ago. Armin's breath caught. That had been before his marriage, before life had reshaped him. Back then, he had been a university student working part-time as a delivery driver. Soraya's voice trembled slightly as she revealed the truth she had carried for years. 8 years ago, during a brief but unforgettable chapter of her life before she became a global business icon, she had fallen in love with a kind, stubborn young man who believed more in people than in money. Circumstances had torn them apart abruptly. Her family had disapproved. Her career had demanded relocation. And she had left without telling him one critical truth. She had been pregnant. The world around Armin seemed to blur. The bright police station, the distant chatter, even the hum of traffic outside faded into a dull echo. He looked at Alina, who was clutching her mother's hand. Soraya's voice cracked as she explained that she had tried to find him years later, but he had moved, married, and disappeared from her reach. She had convinced herself it was better not to disrupt his new life. She raised Alina alone, pouring her ambition into building an empire while hiding the ache of unfinished love. Armin's mind raced. He thought of his late wife, of the life they had built together, of the grief that had hollowed him out. He thought of the daughter he never knew he had. Alina looked between them, confused but curious. The revelation didn't come with dramatic shouting or anger. It came with silence. With the realization that fate had orchestrated a meeting no one could have planned. Soraya wasn't there to demand anything. She wasn't there to disrupt his life. She simply felt he deserved to know. She had resources, power, influence, but she couldn't buy the missing years. Days turned into weeks after that meeting. Soraya requested a private DNA test, which confirmed the truth. Alina was his daughter. Armin struggled deeply. He felt guilt toward the memory of his late wife, confusion about stepping into a world so different from his own, and fear of failing another child. But when he visited Alina at Soraya's estate, a sprawling property with gardens that seemed endless, he realized something profound. Alina didn't care about wealth. She cared about the way he listened when she talked about her drawings. She cared about how he fixed the loose wheel on her toy stroller instead of calling a servant. Soraya watched these interactions quietly. For all her billions, she had never seen her daughter laugh so freely. Armin introduced Alina to Xavier one sunny afternoon in the park. There was awkwardness at first. Then curiosity. Then the simple magic of childhood. Within an hour, they were chasing pigeons and arguing about whose turn it was on the swing. Life didn't magically become easy. There were legal discussions, emotional conversations, and nights when Armin lay awake questioning whether he was strong enough for this expanded fatherhood. But slowly, a new rhythm formed. Soraya, despite her power, began showing up not as a CEO but as a woman learning vulnerability. She visited Armin's modest home, sitting at his small wooden kitchen table, drinking tea from chipped mugs. She confessed that success had cost her simplicity. He confessed that loss had cost him hope. Daylight became symbolic in their story.